you ever felt.
Are you listening? Damn.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Have you heard of the movie Bright? It's a movie that's out on Netflix right now, starring Will Smith and Joe Egerton. It's a great movie, guys. I just finished watching it for the second time. It's basically a movie about two cops that were newly partnered up and have to grow a trusting bond in a relationship. But there's a big twist on this whole thing, and that's that there's a very fantasy side to it. Like, it mixes fantasy with modern very well, very, very well. There's all sorts of species in it, from orcs to elves to fairies. Remember Shrek? You're a Shrek fan? You're a grown-up Shrek fan? This movie is totally aimed at you. Or Shannara Chronicles. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but it is such a good show. And it's also kind of like that in a way. It's like it has all these different species in it from fantasies, like orcs and fairies and elves, mainly those three, and humans, all different races of humans, and they've come together in like modern day, and it seems like these fantasy worlds that we hold the myths about elves and stuff like that seems to be their past, but now it's came up to modern day. They hint around a lot to a past where there were wars between the humans and the orcs and the elves. The whole movie has a lot of racial undertoning to it. It's kind of all about, it takes you back to the days in America when, say, the first African American got to become a police officer. In the movie, this is the first time a orc has been able to become a police officer. And Joe Egerton plays the orc Nick Jacoby. And Will Smith plays the human, Scott Ward. And Scott Ward is sort of very racist against orcs. Like, he's not extremely racist, but he's definitely not comfortable with orcs, and he doesn't like the fact that he's been put with the orc, and he wants him out of his car, like, pretty bad. So there's a lot of racial undertoning with, you know, humans hating orcs, but this orc is like salt of the earth good guy. Nick is like he would bend over backwards. You can tell he just really wants a friend, and he's actually a really good guy. And he's only part orc. He was also part human. He doesn't have like tusks, and it has like little things like that in it, which I found was pretty cool, because he didn't have like tusks, and he wasn't blooded, so he wasn't a full orc. And because of that, he was looked down on by the other orcs, and he couldn't really fit in with human society either, because he looked like an orc, all except for like the tusks. In a lot of ways, he looked like an orc. And so it kind of really gives you an idea of what it was like for people of mixed race, and how a lot of times people of mixed race don't feel like they fit in fully with like either race that they are derived from. I just really found the message about race very interesting, because they did it without bashing a real human race. They did it very discreetly, and it really sends a good message, I think, about you know, how not all people, that just because you're a part of this race doesn't make you a bad person, you know, that could just be a stereotype. They showed like quite a few orcs that weren't necessarily bad people, they were just in bad circumstances. And they also did that with a lot of the humans though too, and kind of showed how they were alike in that way, and I really like that about the movie. And at the same time, I digress. I'm getting too far into the racial undertones of it. The movie itself is also about something called brights. That's why it's called brights. A bright is someone who can use a magic and use a magic wand. And in the movie, spoilers. In the movie, they end up finding a magic wand. A girl that has a magic wand, and she's on the run from some evil elves that are trying to get to her for the magic wand. And I'm trying not to give too much away with this. Basically, a bright is someone who can touch a magic wand. If you're not a bright and you touch a magic wand, you will explode. And the explosion is massive. And basically, Will Smith and Joe Edgerton had to go all through the movie protecting this little elf girl and the wand, and this wand keeps making people go nuts when they see it. Keeps making people go nuts and try to kill them to get the wand. And one thing I found great about it is it seemed like each person that wanted the wand had a purpose. Like, it wasn't just to get like rich and famous or anything like that. Like, one guy was in a wheelchair. He was a gangster, but he was in a wheelchair, and he wanted the wand to heal himself. And it showed like he had to use like a colostomy bag and stuff. So like each person that wanted the wand seemed to have some sort of purpose to wanting the wand. It wasn't just like it mindlessly took them over. Like, it took them over if they had a purpose to want it. But the movie altogether was fantastic. I loved it. I loved it so much I watched it twice. Will Smith and Joe Edgerton did a wonderful job really pulling it off. And the makeup crew was awesome. I had to go look at the cast and crew to figure out who played Nick, because he looked so much like an orc. They did really good. And the fairies look really weird. They look like tiny little monsters or something. They don't look like, your Tinkerbells. So I if I had a rating system, I would give this a 5-star. It's really good. I really liked it. Thumbs up from me. Yeah. Have you seen Bright? If you have, I would love to talk about it down below. If not, go check it out on Netflix. It's out now. It's on Netflix. You can go watch it anytime. Yeah. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please subscribe and hit that little bell button if you want to know when I upload. And I'll see you next time. Peace.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.